this most recent recording, we get the beginning of a new chapter in Sean's life. And while he slows down to detail some things here and there, he also jumps from one to another to another. If this were a movie, it'd feel like short scenes in different places and different times that are loosely connected. But we see him in Hawaii, we see him back in San Francisco. He's feeling the heat from the cops and a little pressure from the mafia, unfortunate family tragedy, and everything else that comes with the local life of Gringo Loco. Enjoy this one and stay tuned for a little surprise at the end.
It begins with, "You can take me out of Vegas, but you can't take Las Vegas out of me." It was running through my blood. My bro more than me. I was just along for the ride. We found the two of us in Las Vegas 1 month, if not a week, at a time. We love to gamble. Our new sensation. Man, you can win a lot of money in Las Vegas as well as lose it just as fast. My bro, more than I, had some real good luck. Knew the slot machines in every casino, which were good and bad. He knew which machines to play, sometimes non-stop, days at a time. The casinos would complement the hotel room and the restaurants. We would stay and eat in the hotels for free. And sleep, of course, in the best rooms. My bro was on the list of good clients. They knew the big rock star would spend so much time and money each visit. It was the least the casino could do. My bro would go with $10,000 each time to Las Vegas, just to lose it. He didn't care. We were making so much money. If this was the price to have some fun, so be it. Didn't really sleep much. I'll be honest, with a bump of the glass, we were up all weekend anyway. A quick trip to the bathroom, no cameras. This was the only place where there was no security in the 1980s. The mafia put cameras everywhere to keep an eye on the business. A lot of money in casinos. The mafia owns Las Vegas. They started this place from nothing, the ground up in the middle of the desert. Look at this place at night, so beautiful with the casino lights. But in the daytime, it's not pretty. More so after a long night of gambling, drinking, and partying, especially when losing money. This was the case a lot of times, when losing all we had. My bro would make a call and have someone wire him Western Union more money to continue the gambling frenzy. Many times out of control, either one has a good luck streak or a bad one. I would tell my bro after losing so much money, yeah, cut your losses, accept the fact that sometimes you have bad luck. That's the way it goes sometimes. I would have to drag him out of the casinos at times and drive him back to San Francisco. The drive back was always so much longer than when first arriving. The drive that much more difficult after losing all the money, especially in winter, having to put snow chains on the tires, and my bro driving so fast in the snow. Scary, crazy, like a race car driver in the worst road conditions, in the mountains, filled with snow and ice. It was enough to make a grown man cry in more ways than one. he would yell at me, just sit there and shut up. Deal with it. I would tell him, just slow down. With meth, the glass, everything speeds up. You're going nowhere fast as far as I'm concerned. But nonetheless, a bump of glass was all it took. Full speed ahead. Gotta go. And fast. With the green, it's the opposite. That's why it's my preferred choice. Slow down, take it easy. I like it this way. Not to mention, it's a couple of hours to ride. Not like the other stuff, with just a little bit, you're up for a couple of days. I would find myself with my bro doing just that. A couple of days at a time, no sleep. Things get very distorted after that. Reality is no longer there. It's fuzzy and weird. I don't get the point. I can't understand what all the hype is. I'm told you can do twice as much work on this stuff, but I'll be honest. I just see people spinning in circles. I think one can be just as, if not more productive after a good night's sleep. More so if you don't party. That's just my point of view. But I think it makes sense. Common sense is something a lot of people lack. Arriving back in San Francisco, my bro had to meet up with the Hells Angels. And I had to meet the Italian Mafia. Getting in my car, I started my journey visiting the meat man and bread man at the corner store, also eating lunch in the restaurant across the street. The Mafia had a perfect cover working in and out of the store and restaurant. It was the perfect front for negotiations. I took care of business then, proceeded to work my way back to Palo Alto. Still living at home, I was going to university, Stanford. Parties were amazing. This year I found myself in the frat houses. Chelsea Clinton and Tiger Woods, they were there. Remember, we're all a bunch of college kids just trying to blow off a little steam on the weekends. Students don't always study. I know it's a shock and it's crazy to hear. Yes, students party on the weekend. It happens to the best of us. Now supplying Stanford University, UC Berkeley, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, up to Sonoma County, all the way to the beautiful beach at UC Santa Cruz. I had to make my rounds. Business was really good. Distributing meth, coke, and weed was a full-time job. Going to school, studying was secondary. My priority was business. Schools were a way to build up my client list. 1982 and 83 was a busy year. Lots of business. I also kept up my gardening and painting business. Everything was done by phone and using beepers. I only showed up at Coldwell Banker once a month, like everyone else. I received consistent clients from the real estate agents. The market was good in the 80s. Like everything else, my mom continuing to sell houses like hotcakes. Business was good, and so was the news that we were moving to Los Altos, not far away from Palo Alto. Mom had made enough money to buy a bigger house. As always, we found ourselves moving a lot. After all, I did go to 3 different high schools in just 4 years. 3 cities. Shortly after Los Altos, we moved to Mountain View. My whole life is California. Everybody always on the move. It's now 1985. Living in Mountain View with a girlfriend, Carrie Wilson. She has a 1955 yellow Chevy truck. Beautiful. The two of them, my bros band, huge, very well known, as well as the world-renowned bands that he continues to open up for. I'm hanging out with Dean Mayo more than ever, Corey, Randy Delacruz. Carrie Wilson, she's a rocker. And so is her dad. He's so cool. Little guy, but strong as an ox. Stocks shelves with canned goods. And the boss of Safeway supermarket. He's the man. Works all the time. Open-minded to me being with his daughter. Lets me spend the night and party with him when he's not working. Drinking, smoking, and listening to AC/DC. That's all this guy ever listened to. We went to a couple of concerts together. Lots of fun. My bro actually had his first. He actually had her first. Then I. This would happen later with Sierra. My next girlfriend. We went back and forth like this for years. I had an opportunity with Carrie's dad through Del Monte to go work in Hawaii. I had a beautiful apartment 1 block from the beach, Oahu, Waikiki, Diamond Head. The big island was great. I went to bed early and woke up early. I showed up to work at Del Monte at 5 o'clock in the morning and finished at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The Del Monte Pineapple Factory, I was a mechanic. I worked on the machines every day, tuning them up, fixing them, keeping them running smooth as butter. I had worked many construction jobs throughout the years, off and on. Building houses from the ground up, doing electrical, plumbing, construction, every aspect. Also working with machinery. At the pineapple plant, I wore a tool belt, walked around freely. Sometimes I would have a list of things that needed to be done, but more or less nothing was broken. I just had to make my rounds and look busy. I was by myself most of the time. My boss was too busy to keep an eye on me. He was happy to have me and was good friends with my girlfriend's dad. Sometimes it's not what you know, but who you know that makes all the difference. Just by word of mouth, that's all it takes. I found myself in Hawaii, paradise. The most beautiful island in the world. I was making good money with a great company, also renting my extra room in my apartment. I was living rent-free. My roommate paid all the rent without knowing it. Life was good, and so was my business on the side. I was bringing something to the islands. Something that they had never seen before. Sheets of acid from San Francisco and the glass. Hawaii already had the green and white, but this new sensation was like gold. I had a friend, Dano. He was sending me sheets of acid like sending letters, postcards. It was that easy. The glass, a different story. We used to pack meth up in packages of food. It looked like bag of chips, boxes of cereal, cookies, all kinds of supermarket products. We always disguised our material. One evening, I was caught by Hawaii 5-0. The police in a sting operation. I had never been arrested for drugs before. I was taken to the police headquarters where they wanted me to wear a wire and go back to the Hawaiian Mafia. record conversations, and make a drug deal. It was either do that or do a lot of time in prison. They told me if I agreed to these conditions, I could go home and not jail. I, of course, told Hawaii 5-0 that I would do it. They told me it was going to happen the next evening and that I could go home and to come back to the police station the next night. They knew that I had been living and working for a few years here in Hawaii. I told them I wanted to continue living here in Hawaii. I knew at that moment in my head that I had to get off the island. But how? After being released from the police headquarters, I went home. I actually had ordered a phone after so many years without one. I was just waiting for them to give me a signal so I could make a call earlier that day. It was connected, but still didn't work. I went to the payphone and called the mafia. They told me not to talk on the phone. I told them it was a public, safe payphone. They didn't care. They told me when and where there would be someone to talk to me face to face. Not knowing if I was being watched by 5-0, I returned home only to slip out my window, not using the front door, sliding down the back of the building, and went to my meeting place. There was my Hawaiian friend. We talked and I told him the truth, like I always do. And I told him that I'd been arrested by Hawaii 5-0. The police wanted me to wear a wire, and I didn't want to do it. I already told the police that I would do it, but I'm no rat. I never told anything to anyone in my life, let alone the police. Fuck the police. I just want to get the hell off this island, go back to San Francisco, and make this all go away. Like a bad dream, a nightmare. I just want to wake up and have this disappear. My friend told me he appreciated my honesty, as well as the mafia. They already heard the news and wanted me to hear it from you. My friend was very highly respected on the islands, so the mafia took his word and mine that they would help me get off the island of Hawaii. If that's all it would take to keep my mouth shut. I went home to pack a bag, only to return with my friend to a hotel where I would wait for an airplane ticket and a ride to the airport, all in secret, without the police knowing anything. All 5-0 knew was that I was going back the next night. My friends had to work fast, and so did I. As soon as I went home, I heard my phone ring, the first time since having it hooked up. It was my mom telling me that she had bad news. My dad died today. Like my day couldn't get any worse. I told her I would be home as soon as possible. My friend met me in the back of my apartment on a moped, a cheap island motorcycle. I left everything in my apartment, only taking a backpack and my passport with me. I was taken to a hotel, then the airport. I was one step ahead of 5-0 the whole time, also with the mafia. They made the necessary arrangements to get me off the island. Just when I think things couldn't get worse, I get arrested for the first time in my life as far as drugs are concerned, or even related to. Not officially, because this was to be an undercover sting operation. Only just in progress, only hours after leaving the precinct, was I on my way with the mafia out the back door, undetected by 5-0, and them thinking I was with them. Thanks to my honesty with the mafia, I'm still alive to tell my story. I'm no rat. I've never told a secret in my life. I wasn't about to start now. The mafia had known the second I was arrested. This organization works on both sides of the law, especially when it gets to this kind of level. I learned this from a very young age, as you remember, the meat man, a cop, a policeman, and also in the mafia. I took my chances with the latter of the two. The mafia actually sent my friend to kill me. He told me that he was willing to do it. A job's a job. If someone has to be erased, so be it. It goes with the territory, as you know. I only knew so well, having been in the mafia myself for a decade. Surprised I've lasted this long in the game, to be honest with you. Thank God for honesty. A man only has his word. Without it, you're nothing. It was because of my honesty I continue this story. Telling the mafia, honestly, what had happened, and then knowing already my forthcoming, honestly, kept me alive, and then helping me get off the island. Fuck the police. I told the mafia, let me worry about them. They're the least of my worries. I'll never mention anything in any way concerning the mafia. I'll take it to my grave. You have my word. All upon agreeing, I was swept off the island back to San Francisco. As I was saying before, just when you think things couldn't get any worse, my dad dies the same day that I got arrested by Hawaii 5-0, escaping the police from the back of a motorcycle to a hotel to the airport. Upon arrival was my mom to pick me up, only to take care of arrangements of my father's sudden death. All of this happening to me in 24 hours' time. It's a lot. Tragedy brings people together under the worst circumstances. Being back home, I went to live with my mom. I got a job in Palo Alto, California, at Elma Engineering Company. It was Ford Aerospace contracted, affiliated with NASA. So in a sense, not directly with NASA, down the chain, this company was affiliated with them. Palo Alto at the time, mid to late 1980s. All the companies worked in Palo Alto, California. This was Silicon Valley at the time. Earlier, you remember, I worked for Apple in the same surrounding area, where all the high-tech companies, Hewlett-Packard, Sun, Intel, NASA, etc. Later, of course, all these companies moved to San Jose, Santa Clara, and the towns that surrounded them. The land in Palo Alto at the time was twice as expensive as San Jose and Santa Clara. With all due respect, this was half the price in San Jose. It made good sense and a great investment to move to what is now known today as Silicon Valley. I was a shipping and receiving clerk. All material going in and out of Elma Engineering went through me. The front of the building looked like any other corporate executive one. The only difference is, behind these closed doors, we were making bombs, missiles, and rockets. Can you imagine? All in sworn secrecy. Only to this day am I going to talk about this. and so many other secrets. Think about it. Doing this in Palo Alto, California, nobody had any idea what was going on in this place as far as the public was concerned. There must be some kind of problem with building rockets, missiles, and bombs, even if it was in a commercial district and not residential. I would load the missiles, etc., in the back of the 18-wheelers, the Mack trucks, with the forklift. I love my job. It really showed, because when I volunteered to load the bombs in the truck, nobody would argue with me. To be honest, nobody wanted this job. I jumped at the chance to do it, no fear. And I was like a race car driver with the forklift, always driving it, loading all kinds of stuff. If not taking it off the trucks, I was loading them. Imagine if I had dropped one of those rockets, not only $1 million on the floor, but quite possibly blowing up Palo Alto. Think about it. It's crazy, right? I worked for NASA until the great big earthquake of 1989. The Bay Area was devastated, so was I, coming home from work on a bus. My car was broken down the day before with the engine trouble, so I found myself taking the bus, living in Los Altos, not far from Palo Alto. On the bus coming home after finishing NASA at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 5:09 p.m., I remember. The bus, with me on it, rocking back and forth as if we were on a ship in the middle of the ocean in 10-foot waves. I remember the guy in his wheelchair next to me yelling, "I don't want to die on this fucking bus." That's what he said. I told him during the earthquake, "I'm going to hold on to you. Nothing's going to happen to you, I promise. And I'm not going to let you die on this fucking bus." Just then, it rolled over. The street had shook the bus on its side, skidding on the ground at 30 miles an hour. On its side, grinding into the pavement. Windows breaking, glass flying everywhere. People sliding back and forth in the bus, as others crashing through the windows to their death. Here I was hanging on to this handicapped person in a wheelchair that I had just met, but trying to save his life and mine at the same time. As the bus came to a halt, I was able to open the door for all the passengers to get out, also kicking out a few windows. People escaped. Thanks to me and my fast thinking, I was like Superman. I don't know what came over me at that moment. I, of course, hanging on to the man in the wheelchair. We both escaped out the door, neither of us badly injured. The crowd of people cheered for me and told me I was a hero for saving their lives. I quit working for NASA that day. It was a sign from above, not to help build bombs, missiles, and rockets, but maybe try to help people. Instead of killing people for the mafia or NASA with bombs, I wanted to see what I could do to do some good in the world. I wanted a better life.
As promised at the end of the intro, I have a little surprise for you. I was able to track down an old neighbor who continues to live where Sean and I met in the former tenement housing, but later on just a nice little neighborhood apartment complex. And this guy was actually born close by and lived there his entire life with his parents, now lives there with his kids. And he was there the entire time Sean lived in this particular spot in Mexico City. I'm not sure if it was the first place he lived, but that's where I met him, and he'd been there for a while and continued to be there. He even left and came back. But this was a neighbor. He was really great, sweet man. And these are his memories of Sean, who he has known for a long time.
Pues bien, cuando yo conocí a Gringo Loco, su apariencia me pareció una muy buena apariencia tipo hippie, con su gran melena.
Well, when I met Gringo Loco, his appearance seemed to be a very good hippie type appearance, with his big hair and his carefree style of being. I liked him very much, and from there, a very beautiful friendship emerged between him and I.
Bueno, pues la forma de ser de Gringo Loco, pues es muy bella, es un tipo muy, podríamos decir, muy educado. Es muy loco, eso sí, pero es muy educado. Tiene, me atrevería a decir,
the way of being of Gringo Loco, he is very kind. He is very polite. You could say he is very crazy, yes, but he's very polite. I would dare say he has a certain style, a very flexible yogi. He has a fast gait, very laid back in his way. He always walks very fast, and he likes to smoke his cigarette, and he's polite to everyone. He has a way that is very personal, but he's absolutely crazy, a crazy, beautiful, crazy man. The truth is, I adore him as a brother. We still see each other. One time, I was coming back home on my bicycle, and because you need to be a little crazy yourself to understand a crazy person, I was going against the grain on a one-way on my bike, and I also like going fast. I like the speed, and I see the car coming around the corner, minimum about 70, 80 kilometers per hour, and I meet him head on, and he almost runs me over. So I was ready to apologize because I knew that I was coming in the opposite direction. I was surprised when I saw that this guy with a great mane appeared, and he yelled at me, "Well, there you are. You are my brother, dude. You are my brother who almost killed me." And we both got off our rides and we hugged each other. I told him he is crazy, and he tells me, "You are crazy to go the wrong way," and everything ended in a pleasant laugh. 1,000 people could have been killed in an accident, he told me, but that I would have killed my brother, I would have never forgiven myself. And while that was one of the many adventures that I've had, casual events with him like that day, and they all come to the conclusion that he is a crazy gringo. Definitely crazy, but I adore his madness. It is a very beautiful, a very healthy madness, a very typical of him, and that is good. If only we all had such a beautiful madness, and that's all I have to say about the Gringo Loco.
En un accidente, pero que hubiera matado a mi hermano, eso nunca me lo hubiera perdonado. Y bueno, es una de las tantas aventuras que yo he tenido con él, casuales como ese día. Y sí, realmente he llegado a la conclusión de que Sean es un gringo loco, definitivamente. Pero adoro su locura, es una locura muy linda, muy sana, muy propia de él. Y que qué bueno que todos tuviéramos esa locura tan hermosa. Y eso es todo lo que tengo que decir.
Thanks for listening to True Story, a podcast by Gringo Loco. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page at Sean Balin Gringo Loco Podcast and follow us on Instagram at Gringo Loco Pod. Catch our next episode 1 week from today.